I am making some harissa, which is a hot sauce. There are a lot of different ways people make it. I have a recipe in a Moroccan cookbook that I've used for a long time that uses dried hot peppers, but I use fresh. Sometimes people don't put many hot peppers, they put bell peppers. Sometimes it has caraway, sometimes it has cumin, sometimes it has coriander. The one that I'm doing has caraway and coriander and hot peppers and garlic and a little olive oil and salt. You grind it all up and put it in jars, and then it's really great added to soups or just on top of meals like any hot sauce, but it's just a really particular flavor. So we'll get going. I started with fresh serrano peppers, and I wore gloves because I've neglected to do that in past years and been up all night with my hands in glasses of milk or cold water trying to sleep and not having it work because my hands are on fire. So I wore gloves and I took out all the seeds and ribs of the peppers. I don't usually do that for hot sauce, but for the harissa I do. It's part of this recipe that I use that does it's like the right balance of hot and spice. So it's, we'll share the recipe at the end, I guess, but it's 12 to 15 seeded hot peppers and 10 cloves of garlic. I'm counting these 3 babies as one. And I will peel them and add them to the food processor with the peppers. I'm going to add some ground caraway and coriander to this. For every recipe, it's a teaspoon of coriander and a teaspoon of caraway, so I'm using 3 and 3. I'm using heaping. A little less than the caraway.
You're using 3 and 3 because you're doing a 3.
Because I'm doing 3 times the amount. Okay, I'm going to grind this up. And a teaspoon and a half of salt for my purposes. If you were doing one of these recipes, you'd be using half a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of olive oil, but I'll use 3. But again, we'll write this up in the description. And you could always play around with it however you want. So I'm going to start whirring this, and I'm going to add the olive oil as it whizzes. Now I put it into jars that I've sterilized. I do that because I don't keep it in the fridge. We keep it down the root cellar, which is cold but not as constant of a temperature as the fridge, and in the spring it changes. And so anyway, I sterilize the jars. I just boil them for 11 minutes and I pour boiling water over the lid. They're not canning jars, they're just jars. And then I fill it. This is one from left over from yesterday that I didn't get to fill, so I'm gonna fill it now. And I would use a funnel, but it won't fit in these jars. So Sean's holding the camera in front of me. If you were just going to store it in the fridge, I wouldn't sterilize the jars, but for me, I do this, and then I pour a little olive oil just over the top, and then that's how I keep them. And then once we crack into it, we keep that one in the fridge. Tripling the recipe gave me these 2 jars, one of which was partially full. And then this partial jar, so I guess I'm keep putting myself in a situation where I have to make more harissa to get a complete set of jars. So I guess I'm going to make more, but that's all.